I discovered my wife was expecting, but the baby wasn't mine. It belonged to my younger brother. The real punch in the gut? My own mother knew all along and tried to sweep it under the rug. She apparently thought I was better equipped to handle the fallout because I had the stable income, the house, the future. Once I confirmed the betrayal, I wasted no time filing for divorce and gave the full story to my father. He took charge after that. I'm 31, working as a project manager for my father's construction company based in Phoenix. I've been grinding since I was 15, starting from the bottom and moving up the ranks across various sites. I earn about $85,000 a year, not including bonuses, and I own a home I purchased pre-marriage, which has appreciated by nearly six figures. My ex-wife Elena, 29, works as a nurse and makes around $70,000 annually. We met when she was still in nursing school. Back then, she seemed focused and ambitious. I believed we were on the same path. Looking back, I realize I overlooked some warning signs early on, like how she openly flirted with a bartender the first night we went out. My father, Roberto, is the classic self-made man. He began in construction at 18, hauling lumber and hammering nails, while taking night classes to better himself. He clawed his way into large-scale commercial builds and built the company through sheer effort and discipline. He has no patience for laziness or excuses. My mother, Nora, couldn't be more opposite. She left her low-level office job early and now fills her time with shopping sprees and gossip, while treating my younger brother DK like he's the second coming. She keeps up appearances in public, but quietly stirs drama at home. DK, now 26, has gotten by purely on charm without doing much of anything. My dad brought him into the business with a basic office role, just answering phones, for $55,000 a year, hoping it would motivate him. It didn't. DK walked around acting like the company should be grateful just because he showed up. Over time, my dad tried putting him out in the field, under the scorching Arizona sun, thinking the hard work would shape him. But DK rarely lasted more than a shift. Meanwhile, I was doing the heavy lifting, learning electrical, carpentry, concrete work, drywall. By 20, I was managing housing developments. At 24, I earned a promotion based on performance. DK, in contrast, retreated to the office where he played the role of executive, flaunting flashy designer clothes and driving a leased BMW like he'd made it. At family dinners, Mom praised DK for basic things like showing up on time while I was managing million-dollar builds. When I bought my house, DK made snide comments about me being lucky. When I got promoted, he called it nepotism, ignoring the decade I spent earning it. 2 years ago, DK ran into financial trouble. Credit cards, car loans, the usual. Dad loaned him $15K with the promise of repayment. DK made a couple of payments, then defaulted. More excuses, no accountability. Early in my marriage, Elena and I worked well together. I handled finances and home repairs. She cooked and managed our social life. Sundays were special. Her meals reminded me of my grandmother's kitchen. We had plans, real ones. After our third anniversary in October 2022, we started trying for a baby. She went off the pill. We tracked her cycle and even picked out names. Then, in January 2023, Dad landed a huge hospital renovation. 6 months, $2 million. It was our biggest job ever, and I was put in charge. Hospital construction is intense. Tight regulations, constant inspections, zero margin for error. I was working long hours, nights, and weekends. At first, Elena supported me. She'd bring dinner to the site and talk about our future. We planned to use the project bonus to pay off the mortgage and start investing. But then something changed. She started spending more time with a coworker, Sophia, a fun, outgoing travel nurse. Suddenly, Elena was out 3 or 4 nights a week, and our routine fell apart. I was too buried in work to realize what was really going on. By February, Elena's schedule got suspicious. She used to work 3 regular shifts a week. Now, she was claiming extra hours, surprise trainings, and sudden emergencies. Meanwhile, DK began checking in when I wasn't home, bringing her coffee, fixing things I hadn't gotten to yet. At the time, I thought maybe he was finally growing up. Maybe the added responsibility was helping him become more reliable. I had no idea that while I was running the biggest project of my career, my brother was sleeping with my wife in the house I had built for us both. At first, I thought DK's new behavior was growth. He ditched the flashy clothes, started showing up to work on time, even put in extra hours. Dad was starting to believe DK was finally stepping up, and I let myself believe it too. When the hospital project wrapped in March, early and under budget, I was ready for things to return to normal. It was a huge win for the company. But coming home, I quickly realized something had changed. Elena was still constantly working late, covering shifts, dealing with sudden emergencies. Except now that I was around more, I noticed strange things, like the $200 she withdrew every Friday. When I asked, she brushed it off. Girls' nights. I use cash so I don't overspend. It sounded reasonable, until I remembered how we used to track every expense together. Now she was taking out money weekly without saying a word. Then there was her phone, always in her hand, smiling at the screen, but the moment I walked in, she'd lock it or flip it over. I asked who she was always messaging. The answer was always the same. Work group chat, nothing important. By April, I started noticing physical signs too. Elena was throwing up every morning. I asked if she was okay. She blamed a stomach bug at work and told me she was seeing a doctor, but insisted I shouldn't come. She didn't know I had been tracking her cycle ever since we started trying for a baby. She was 3 weeks late. That had never happened before. When I brought it up, her reaction was explosive. "Why are you monitoring my body like I'm some experiment?" she snapped. "I can handle myself. Stop trying to control me." Her outrage came out of nowhere, especially considering we'd been tracking everything together for months. The shift was glaring. At the same time, I noticed something odd about my mom. She stopped calling our house phone and started talking to Elena directly. Their calls were long, whispered, and always private, out in the yard, behind closed doors. Once I heard my mom say, "He can't find out," through the bedroom door. My mom and Elena had never been close. Suddenly, they were thick as thieves. One day, I walked into the kitchen while they were on speakerphone. My mother's tone immediately shifted. "Oh, Kevin's home? We'll talk later," she said, and hung up. That moment flipped a switch in me. I started paying attention to everything. Elena's hospital stories stopped making sense. She'd claim she worked a 12-hour trauma shift, but she'd come home looking fresh, no blood, no antiseptic smell, no exhaustion. It didn't add up. Then one Tuesday in April, my truck broke down, and I caught a ride home with one of my foremen. I walked in around 2 p.m., 5 hours earlier than usual, and heard laughter. Elena was laughing in a way I hadn't heard in months. I rounded the corner and found her sitting far too close to DK on the couch. Their posture screamed intimacy. When they noticed me, they jumped apart like guilty teenagers. Elena's face went pale. "What are you doing home?" DK fumbled, spilling his coffee. "I was just in the neighborhood. Thought she might need company." He handed me a coffee, trying to play it off as thoughtful. I didn't say a word. But inside, I was burning. That night, I couldn't sleep. My gut told me the truth was right in front of me. Her erratic hours. The hidden calls. The pregnancy symptoms. DK suddenly playing the concerned brother-in-law? It was all starting to make sense. The next morning, I dug in. I checked DK's company truck records. We tracked every vehicle through GPS. Over the past few months, his logs showed him visiting our neighborhood repeatedly during my work hours, and places like upscale restaurants and hotels in Scottsdale. None of it tied to any projects. And that was just the beginning. Then I pulled up our shared calendar. The overlap was immediate and undeniable. Every time DK's truck appeared somewhere suspicious, Elena's schedule suddenly changed too. Extra shifts, last-minute calls from the hospital, emergencies that couldn't wait. I didn't stop there. I dug into our joint bank account going back 4 full months. The pattern was impossible to ignore. Every Friday, she withdrew exactly $200 in cash. And now I noticed payments to luxury restaurants and boutique hotels in Scottsdale. On days she claimed to be pulling doubles at the hospital. $180 at Fleming's on a Wednesday, $220 at the Four Seasons for tea on a Thursday when she said she had training, $95 for brunch at a hotel bistro on a Sunday she supposedly covered a sick colleague's shift. I started logging everything, a detailed daily account of her stated plans versus what the data showed. The more I documented, the clearer it became. To confirm my suspicions, I called her hospital. I posed as a relative with an urgent family emergency and asked to be transferred to Elena's department. The front desk nurse politely told me Elena wasn't on shift and hadn't been for 3 days. It was a Wednesday. Elena had told me she'd just worked a 12-hour Tuesday and was heading in again that evening. That was the moment the veil lifted. The next day, I told Elena I was staying home with a stomach bug. She left for what she claimed was a mandatory safety training. The second the door closed, I went straight to our shared family computer. We'd always used the same password. Team Adina, 2019. A cheesy souvenir from our last anniversary trip. I logged into her email, heart pounding, hands trembling. Right there at the top was a thread between her and my mother. Subject line, making sure Kevin never finds out. I froze. Just reading those words made me nauseous, but I forced myself to open it. There were months of messages. It started slow, February. My mom asked if Elena was certain about what was happening. She advised her to be cautious, saying maybe it was just a phase. But within weeks, the tone shifted. They began strategizing. My mother was actively coaching her on how to lie to me. Suggestions for excuses, what shifts to claim, when to say she was stuck at work, even offering her house as a rendezvous location when my dad had late meetings or golf games. One email from March hit like a freight train. Roberto's tea time is Thursdays at 2. He'll be gone until at least 6. If you park behind the alley, DK can come through the garage side door. I'll make sure no neighbors notice anything. Another. Say you're working a night shift Tuesday. Roberto will be with clients until 10. The house will be empty. DK told his roommate he's on a job site overnight. Then came the discussion about the pregnancy. In April, Elena had a confirmed appointment with her OB/GYN, 8 weeks along. But there was uncertainty about the father. My mother's reply was vile. Doesn't matter. Let Kevin think the baby's his. He'll step up. DK isn't ready for a child. Kevin has the job, the house, the stability. He'll make a better father anyway. Another one. Derek isn't built for real responsibility. This works out best for all of us. You get financial security. DK doesn't get tied down. Kevin gets what he's always wanted, a family. Elena pushed back, unsure. But what if Kevin notices the baby looks like DK? What if he figures it out? My mother responded coldly, we'll deal with it later. Just keep him convinced everything's normal. Sleep with him often enough to keep the timeline plausible. I sat there for hours, reading every word. My pulse wouldn't slow down. The betrayal was so deep it didn't even feel real. My wife, my brother, and my own mother, conspiring behind my back, building a reality for me to live in, one carefully engineered lie at a time. I copied every incriminating message, screenshot, and receipt, transferred it all to a USB, and printed the worst of it out. My hands trembled, but my thoughts were razor sharp. These people, my wife, my brother, and my own mother, had been quietly dismantling my life for months, believing I'd never see it coming. They thought they were clever. They weren't. I called my father right away. Dad, I need to meet at the office. Now. It's urgent, and I can't explain over the phone. 20 minutes later, I was in his office, dropping the truth on his desk. Everything. Elena's affair, the pregnancy, DK's involvement, and the fact that Mom hadn't just known about it, she'd helped. Coordinate it. My father said nothing for a long time. He just sat there, absorbing the weight of it all. When he finally spoke, his voice was disturbingly even, cold, composed. This is war, he said. Meet me at Marcus's office in 2 hours. Don't say a word to anyone. We're locking this down legally before anything else. Marcus Chun had been our corporate attorney for years, a meticulous man with a reputation for being absolutely ruthless in court, especially during divorces. Dad had already called ahead. Marcus had cleared his calendar. Inside his office, we spread out all the evidence like we were preparing a courtroom assault. He reviewed every document with a cold efficiency. Email chains, GPS records, bank statements, suspicious restaurant charges, inconsistencies in Elena's hospital shifts. After 20 minutes, he looked up and gave a nod. The house is untouchable. You bought it pre-marriage. It's yours alone. And with what you've brought me, we can move fast and shield your assets before this explodes. His advice was direct. Move all joint funds immediately. Protect my retirement accounts. Record every interaction. No confrontations until the legal structure was secured. I left his office and drove straight to the bank. I transferred $95,000 from our joint savings into my personal account, leaving $5,000 behind so it wouldn't seem suspicious. I also made sure that the $140,000 I had invested prior to our marriage, stocks, 401k, all of it, was clearly documented as separate property. Elena had no claim to it. Meanwhile, my father was making his own moves. He called the office and stripped DK of all access. No more company truck, no more credit card, no building badge. He instructed Linda, our admin manager, to reassign DK and lock down everything. By Monday, DK's key card wouldn't open a single door, and his truck wouldn't even start. I shut down every joint credit card except for one with a $2,000 cap, just in case she tried to retaliate financially. I also revoked her access to my personal accounts. Every move was calm, strategic, and within the law. That same night, while Elena was in the shower, her phone lit up with a message from DK. Been waiting for a moment like this. Can't wait to see you tomorrow at Mom's. Dad's working late, so we'll have the place to ourselves again. Don't forget to bring what you picked up yesterday. It was confirmation. Not only was the affair still active, it was intensifying. I took a screenshot and forwarded it to Marcus. That text was the final nail. I called my father and told him it was time to set the trap. We were going to host a family dinner at my house Saturday night. He understood without needing the details. He contacted my mom and DK separately and told them I had a big announcement to make. Something worth celebrating, something important enough that everyone had to be there. A promotion, a pregnancy, maybe a new home. He let them imagine whatever they wanted. I casually told Elena about the dinner on Friday evening. The second I mentioned DK would be attending, she stiffened. Her smile faded. "What's this about?" she asked. "Why are you planning a family dinner out of nowhere?" "Thought it'd be nice, some good news to share," I said with a smile. She pushed again. "Do I need to cook something special? Is it serious?" "Nothing to worry about," I replied. "I got the food covered." She didn't like that answer. "You're scaring me, Kevin. Relax, you'll find out tomorrow." The next day, Saturday, April 29th, I prepped the house like I was setting a stage. At my place setting at the table, I placed a manila envelope containing the divorce papers. I prepared a second envelope for my father, this one holding printed emails, including the most damning messages between Elena and my mother. I also wrote out a certified check for $15,000 made out to my dad, the exact amount Mom had guilted him into lending DK during one of his financial emergencies. He deserved to be made whole before everything blew up. Elena was visibly unsettled all day. She kept circling the kitchen, asking me over and over what this announcement was. I just told her to wait. I made my signature tri-tip roast with chimichurri, our go-to meal for family dinners. I wanted everything to feel as normal as possible, right up until it didn't. Mom arrived first, gave me her trademark performative hug, and immediately asked where Elena was and what the big surprise might be. Dad walked in behind her, expression unreadable, and simply nodded at me. 20 minutes later, DK strolled in wearing a flashy shirt and his usual smug grin. He gave me a lazy pat on the shoulder as if we were best buddies. "So what's the news, man? Don't tell me Elena's finally knocked up? Took you long enough." He said it with a smirk, the kind of smile people wear when they think they've won. He thought he had beaten me, slept with my wife, snuck around behind my back, and gotten away with it. Elena barely touched her food. She picked at it, eyes darting between DK and me. Mom filled the silence with useless chatter about the weather and church gossip, but the room was electric with tension. After we cleared the plates, Dad raised his beer and smiled. "Well, son," he said, "you've got the floor. What's the news?" I stood up, reached for the envelope, and handed it to Elena. "I do have something to share," I said, keeping my voice steady. "These are divorce papers." The room froze. It was so quiet I could hear the fridge hum and a dog barking somewhere outside. Elena's face drained of color. "What is this?" My mother's hand flew to her chest like she'd been shot. "Kevin, what on earth? What are you doing?" I didn't even look at her. I turned to my dad and slid him the second envelope. "This one's for you. Emails between your wife and mine. Months of messages planning an affair between Elena and DK. Mom's been helping cover it up the whole time." Dad opened the envelope. He knew what was in there already, but as he read the words on the page, his fists clenched. DK jumped up so fast his chair hit the wall. "You snooped through her emails? You're insane, man. That's illegal. You can't use that in court." "That's what you're worried about?" I said coldly. "Not the fact that you've been screwing my wife?" Elena gasped. "Kevin, please, just let me explain." "Don't," I cut her off. "We're done." My father flipped to the page where Mom instructed Elena how to time her lies with his golf games. When Mom reached for the documents, he yanked them away. "Nora," he said, his voice shaking with rage. "What on earth is this?" She started stammering. "Roberto, I was trying to protect the family." "Protect it? You engineered its collapse." She tried to shift the blame. "She's the one who seduced DK. I was just trying to keep it from becoming worse." DK laughed, actually laughed. "Come on, guys. Kevin works 70 hours a week. Elena needed attention. I just filled in the gaps. That was when I realized I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to fight. They had buried themselves. All I had to do was walk away and let the wreckage speak for itself. That was the moment I snapped. I didn't think, I just moved. I came around the table and hit him square in the face with everything I had. I felt his nose collapse under my fist. Blood splattered across his ridiculous designer shirt as he fell backward, crashing into the china cabinet on the way down. Mom shrieked like someone was being murdered. Dad stood slowly, calm but terrifying, 6'1" and over 200 pounds of fury. "Get him out," he said coldly. DK was groaning on the floor, a pool of blood soaking into the hardwood. "You can't be serious, Dad," he tried to say through clenched teeth. "I'm dead serious. You're done here, fired, cut off. You're no longer my concern," Mom gasped. "Roberto, he's your child." "No, Kevin is my son." IDK just proved that blood doesn't mean a thing when you betray your own family. Elena burst into tears, practically choking. "Kevin, please, the baby could be yours." "Then we'll get the test done, but it doesn't change anything. You and we're finished." I handed my father the check I'd prepared. "This is for the loan you gave him, the one he'll never pay back. You deserve better." He stared at the check, then looked at DK bleeding on the floor, then at Mom, who was trying to pull him up off the ground. His voice was like ice. "Nora, get your coat. We're leaving. You and I need to have a long conversation." After they were gone, the house fell into a silence that somehow felt louder than the chaos had. There were broken plates on the floor, a dining chair in pieces, blood on the floorboards. The divorce papers still lay open on the table. Elena sat there frozen, eyes red, makeup smudged. "What now?" she asked in a whisper. "Now?" I said without emotion. "Now you pack your things and get out. This house was mine before we ever met. You've got until tomorrow to find somewhere else." She didn't argue, just nodded and walked upstairs to pack. I stayed where I was, surrounded by the debris of what used to be my life. But for the first time in months, I felt clear, calm, free. The divorce was quick thanks to the evidence. Elena tried to push for alimony, but Marcus, our attorney, shut it down hard. Given her full-time income as a nurse and the mountain of documentation I had, her request had no merit. Arizona may be a no-fault state, but infidelity still plays a role in dividing assets and awarding support. In the end, she walked away with her clothes, her Honda Civic, and nothing more. The DNA results confirmed what I already suspected. The child wasn't mine. Elena moved in with Sophia, the travel nurse who had conveniently helped orchestrate this whole mess by covering for her so-called shifts. According to mutual acquaintances, Sophia got tired of her fast. Elena became unbearable, always crying, expecting constant sympathy, and relying on Sophia to pay for everything. Within 6 weeks, even Sophia had kicked her out. My dad followed through on every single word he said that night. DK was officially terminated from the company. He was banned from every job site and blacklisted across the Phoenix construction network. Dad made a few calls to industry contacts. Word spread fast. DK couldn't get a job anywhere in the only field he knew. The financial faucet was shut off too. No more BMW payments, no credit cards, no cash handouts. For the first time in his life, DK was on his own, and it hit him hard. 3 weeks later, he got arrested for driving on a suspended license with expired tags and no insurance. He'd been dodging car payments and couldn't afford coverage. He spent 2 nights in county jail, and Dad refused to help. "Let him sit," he told me. "Maybe jail will teach him something life never did." Elena tried to reinsert herself several times. Emails, texts, even showing up at my job one afternoon demanding we talk. Said we could work through this, that we could rebuild. I blocked her everywhere after she sent a message blaming me for the affair. Claimed I worked too much, didn't meet her emotional needs. Classic cheater's logic. Turn the blame around and act like the victim. But what truly satisfied me was watching how my father handled Mom. He didn't just explode, he went tactical. Turns out, he'd had suspicions for a while, noticed odd spending patterns, strange behavior. After learning everything, he had Marcus conduct a full audit of their finances going back 2 years. The findings were brutal. Mom had been secretly supporting DK with roughly $3,000 a month. Hidden credit lines, cash advances, even a second mortgage she'd taken out behind Dad's back. She was draining their finances to prop up DK's lifestyle while playing the perfect housewife. 6 weeks after the dinner, Dad filed for divorce. He was 58, done being lied to and manipulated. Mom lost it, screamed, begged, pleaded, but he didn't budge. This time, the divorce wasn't quiet. It was war. Dad kept the business, the primary home, and most of the joint assets. Mom was left scrambling. She hadn't worked in over a decade. With no savings and no fallback, she ended up taking a retail job, Target of all places, making $12 an hour. The same woman who used to bark at store clerks now had to bag groceries for people half her age. DK moved in with her, into a crumbling two-bedroom unit across town. He tried multiple times to crawl back, begging Dad for forgiveness, saying he'd learned his lesson. But Dad's response never changed. You chose your path the day you stabbed your brother in the back. Now walk it. The last I heard, DK was on the graveyard shift at Home Depot, stocking shelves and unloading freight trucks, barely scraping by. Elena had the baby, a daughter. She's living in a cramped one-bedroom apartment, working extra shifts just to afford daycare. Life has been brutal for her, and I won't lie, I don't feel sorry. But then, a few months ago, they showed up at my door. Mom and DK uninvited. What they asked next almost made me laugh. They wanted me to do the right thing. They wanted me to claim Elena's child as my own, put my name on the birth certificate, pay child support, and even help with DK's legal bills so he could get back on track. Their justification? We're still family. Everyone makes mistakes. The child shouldn't suffer. And, of course, you're the only one who can provide stability. The audacity of it all still blows my mind. Kevin, my mother said, you need to be the bigger person here. That little girl needs a father figure. And you're the only one capable of giving her a good life. I looked her straight in the eye and said, get off my property. Don't come back. I made it clear I wouldn't be paying for anyone's mistakes, least of all the people who tried to burn my life to the ground. They ruined enough already. They wouldn't get a second chance to ruin what came next. I had them removed from my property by the police. The officer who came out listened carefully, reviewed the evidence I had, and told me he'd seen plenty of family chaos like this. He said I was smart to keep detailed records and to walk away for good. It's been 8 months since that night. The night everything in my life shifted. I won't sugarcoat it. The first few months were brutal. I was 30 years old and suddenly felt like I was rebuilding my life from the ground up. Everything I thought I knew about loyalty, about family, about trust was shattered. But letting go of the people poisoning my life gave me room to breathe and space for better things to grow. My relationship with my father has never been stronger. Shortly after the dust settled, he brought me in as a full business partner and handed me a 40% share of the company. We've been discussing expansion, moving into commercial real estate development, starting in Tucson, and maybe even branching out to Las Vegas. The company is thriving now. With Derek out of the picture, we've stopped losing clients and started attracting bigger contracts. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I started dating again. That's when I met Sarah at a development conference in Vegas. She's an architect who focuses on medical facilities and large commercial builds. She's driven, financially independent, and doesn't expect anyone to rescue or manage her. She's everything Elena wasn't: grounded, goal-oriented, self-sufficient. Being with her feels like breathing fresh air after years of suffocating. I still hear bits and pieces about DK and Elena through industry contacts. People in construction and healthcare who remember what happened. DK has burned through 4 different jobs in just 8 months. He still carries that entitled attitude, believing he's above actual work, and can't understand why no one wants to keep him around. As for Elena, she made a public plea for help on social media, asking for money to cover baby-related costs. It backfired. People who knew the truth about what happened dragged her in the comments, calling out her lies, her choices, and how she tried to play the victim after blowing up her own life. My mother has made a few weak attempts to contact Dad through mutual friends, claiming she wants to rebuild for the sake of the family and asking when he'll stop punishing her. Every time he shuts her down. His message hasn't changed. You made your decision when you helped destroy Kevin's marriage. Now you can live with what you chose, just like the rest of them. If there's anything I've taken away from this entire experience, it's a lesson I wish I'd learned earlier in life. But sometimes you don't really understand it until it costs you everything. When people show you who they really are, believe them. Don't wait for more evidence. Don't give them the benefit of the doubt over and over. The first time is enough. Family isn't just about sharing DNA. It's about having each other's backs. It's about loyalty when it counts, respect when it's hard, and doing what's right, even when no one's watching. DK and my mother failed that test spectacularly. My dad and I, we proved we knew what family actually means. And honestly, the sweetest form of justice hasn't been confrontation or revenge. It's been watching their worlds fall apart while mine finally comes together. Watching Derek struggle to survive on minimum wage, seeing Elena drown in her own mess with no one left to manipulate. Knowing my mom now has to work retail and answer to the same kind of people she used to look down on. That's justice. And for me, that's more than enough.